Whoop. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to reconvene the open session at, looks like I have 7:02. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you could remain standing for a moment of silence as we consider the work before us this evening. You be seated. And Mr. Levis, if you could notify the public of the emergency exits, please.
Sure. In case of an emergency, there are exit signs to your rear, to left and right. Go through the exit doors and take a left or a right out to the outdoors.
Thank you. And Mr. Pearson, if you could honor us with reading the mission statement of Coventry Public Schools.
Yes, the Coventry Public Schools, with community partnerships, educate, inspire, and motivate students to be lifelong learners.
And just to notify the public, the school committee met in executive session for about a half hour. We considered and had some votes taken. We considered our homeschool requests, and we had a vote of 5-0. We also had a request and looked at a foreign exchange student who's coming to Coventry High School, which we voted 5-0 to approve, as well as we approved our executive session minutes of 8/8/19, and that carried 4-0 with one abstention. That being said, is there a motion to seal the records of our executive session?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the records of the executive session be kept closed pursuant to sections 42-46-4 and 42-46-5.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to the approval of our minutes from our reference one, which was the minutes from last meeting, 8/8/19. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the open meeting of August 8, 2019 as presented/amended.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed?
I abstain.
And we have 4 and 1 abstention. Motion carries. Moving on to agenda item number 6, which is personnel. Mr. Levis, did you want to talk to any of these?
Just a kind of a general statement that, we had a lot of resignations. We had a lot of people on leave and a lot of resignations, and and again, this is just my opinion, but we've lost a lot of good teachers. It has a lot to do with the economic climate. Individuals that are, some of our newer teachers had some opportunities in other districts and, are taking those. And I think it's just something that, I know none of us want to be in a situation. I can tell you, I don't want to be in this situation again, as superintendent, as a human being, where we're laying off the amount of teachers. And this is a great place to be an educator. Our teachers love our kids, which is probably for me the number one reason to come to work every day. But I just want the committee and the community to be aware this is a reality of what's going on, in terms of the economics. And we need to, I say we all need to, figure this out, because it's just, again, we lost a lot of young people, and this is a great place, I think, to be an educator. But to have that doubt constantly placed in your mind, will I have a job, is a tough situation. And I just, again, want the committee and the community to be aware of that.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to approve the resignation of Stephanie Sullivan?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the resignation of Stephanie Sullivan, Point 4 inclusion teacher at Tioga Elementary School, effective August 13, 2019.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Kayla Seislin.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the resignation of Kayla Seislin, 1.0, intensive support teacher life skills at Coventry High School, effective August 14, 2019.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to our classified resignations, David Maloney.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the resignation of David Maloney, 6.5-hour day TA support at Allen Shawn Feinstein Middle School effective August 9th, 2019.
Second the motion.
Any questions from the committee?
What does RISFD stand for?
Where are you?
David Maloney?
Intensive support?
Rhode Island School for the Deaf.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, Rhode Island School for the Deaf. Okay, very good, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Jessica Shuddard, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the resignation of Jessica Shutter, 4-hour day supervisory assistant yard aide at Western Coventry Elementary School effective August 14, 2019.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to certified appointments, Mr. Levis, did you have any comments about those?
No, just to say that we have, you'll see, I think there's about 17 appointments here, and, with our resignations and retirements and some of the movement that took place in the job fair, we're continuing to fill. We still have about some special education positions that we need to fill. That interviews are taking place daily. We still have, I think, a couple of regular education positions. Our hope is that we have as many filled as possible for the start of school, but, that's where we stand right now.
And after the committee votes on all these motions, we'll ask if anyone's here and welcome you to our community. So, that being said, is there a motion to appoint Rachel Schmidt?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Rachel Schmidt, regular .6, health careers teacher at Regional Career and Technical Center at Coventry High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Alan Marcella, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Alan Marcella, 1 year only, .4 carpentry teacher at the Regional Career and Technical Center at Coventry High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Caroline LaPrise.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Caroline LaPrise, regular .5 culinary teacher at the Regional Career and Technical Center at Coventry High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Rebecca Rabaj, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Rebecca Rabaj, regular .5 inclusion teacher at Western Coventry Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Lindsay Harrington, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Lindsay Harrington, 1 year only, .6 inclusion teacher at Hopkins Hill Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Pamela Rinaldi, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Pamela Rinaldi, regular .5 library media specialist for the district, Hopkins Hill, Tioga, Blackrock, for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Ioana Andre Apollo, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Ionia Andropopoulou, regular 1.0 world language teacher at Allen Shawn Feinstein Middle School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Sabrina Pimentel Majcut.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Sabrina Pimentel Majuk, regular 1.0 English teacher at Allen Shawn Feinstein Middle School for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Wendy Amoni. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Wendy Anoni, regular .4 inclusion teacher at Tioga Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Stacy DeMello. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Stacy DeMello, 1 year only, 1.0, fourth grade 4 teacher at Tioga Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Brianna Butler. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Brianna Butler, 1 year only, .6 science teacher at Coventry High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Danielle Whitaker. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Danielle Whitaker, building-based substitute teacher at Tioga Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Lauren Sarah. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Lawrence Sarah, regular 1.0 inclusion teacher at Tioga Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Dorothy Lee. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Dorothy Lee, regular 1.0 intensive support teacher life skills at Coventry High School for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Phoebe DePerry. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Phoebe DePerry, building-based substitute teacher at Western Coventry Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. And finally, is there a motion for Sarah Maderas?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Sarah Medeiros, building-based substitute teacher at Hopkins Hill Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Are any of those lovely folks here? Congratulations, welcome. And if you could stop there and go across, and if you could just tell us who you are.
I'm Phoebe DePerry,
Nice.
Caroline LaBreeze,
Okay.
Sabrina Pimentel, Stacy Goodall,
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Sure. Moving on to classified appointments. Mr. Levis, did you want to speak to any of these? Again, we'll go through all the motions and then ask if anyone's here. So, our first one is Jessica DeBur. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Jessica DeBrio, 4-hour day supervisory yard aide at Weston Coventry Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair
Aye.
votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Gina Abendorf. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Gina Abender-Roth, 5-hour/day behavior specialist for the district, Western Coventry, for the 2019-2020 school year. Gina, are you here?
Yeah, we must have killed your name.
Abendroth.
Abendroth.
Yeah.
Thank you. Motion's been made.
Second.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Nicole Burlingame, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Nicole Burlingame, 4-hour/day supervisory assistant yard aide at Black Rock Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to Jacob Cady, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Jacob Cady, 4-hour/day custodian, second shift at Western Coventry Elementary School, retroactive to August 12th, 2019.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. And finally, Daniel Kuyoff, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to affirm the recommendation of the superintendent to appoint Daniel Kuoth, 4-hour/day custodian, second shift at Black Rock Elementary School, retroactive to August 19, 2019.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. And I know that Gina's here, but are there any others here? You could just stand up and tell us who you are? Oh, that was easy. Congratulations, welcome. Good luck. I wish you the best. School starting. Moving on to the public agenda. So the following agenda items are open to the public. If the committee is going to make a decision on a motion, the motion is called for, but before we actually take the vote, we do put it out to the public, so you're able to discuss it with us before we make that final vote. That being said, we can move on to number 7, which is the EMT Training Program Bid Award.
I will defer to Mrs. Number 12, the last one. This, sorry.
So we issued a bid for the CTE EMT training program. Our existing company is no longer offering that service anymore, so we had to go back out to bid. We did just go out to bid last year as well. It's relatively straightforward in your packets. We received 2 bids. One, Emergency Training of Rhode Island. They are just really more getting into this avenue. I think their price reflects that, whereas they're trying to attract schools. The other company is the other company that bid last year. So their price did go up from the bid last year. So, but in looking at qualifications, textbook supplies, clinical hours, etc., both Mrs. Ferguson and I thought that it was at least worth a shot to move forward with a lower price bidder. And we always have that option to go out to bid next year, should we choose to, or to extend for 2 subsequent years after that. So that's pretty much it. As far as the actual EMT program, I'd have to defer to Mrs. Ferguson.
Oh, and she's there.
You are here.
Oh, good. Were there any questions for Sarah and or for Mrs. Ferguson? Yes,
Sure,
Jane?
I have a question.
Yes, sure.
In the future, I love the summary, it's great, it's a good synopsis of everything that happened, but I kind of would like to see the proposal, the bid, or the contract, whatever the associated documentation is with the bid award.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, no problem. Anybody
Nope,
else?
I don't have it.
So this isn't the company we've used in the past, correct?
We just started EMT training last year, so we only used one company so far. That company was bought out in the middle of our training
Okay.
contract. So, I really don't even know where they are at this point, but they were not, they really didn't deliver the, training that they had promised us because there was so much transition in the company being bought out. So we decided to go out to bid again. They did not bid, so I don't even know if that company is still in existence at this time.
Okay.
One of the bidders from last year bid again, and then we had a new bidder.
Okay. And the low bidder, Emergency Training of Rhode Island, have you done any reference checks on them?
Yes.
And-
Mr. Costelli is a Coventry resident. He had communication with our health instructor, Mrs. Farrell, so she knew of him, and that is how he ended up to, bid on have the bid. So she had spoken to him. I also talked to him last year before we even knew we were gonna go out to bid. He wanted me to know what, what he did, who his clients were, and that was that.
But by reference check, I'm actually asking you, like, have we checked any references for people he's doing services for?
No.
So we don't-
No, I misunderstood what
Because I like the fact that he's local, but obviously we've already had an issue with one other company, what we don't want to continue to have. And I'm not saying that, there's a fairly large disparity in cost, right? So if it was real close, I would probably say, but, I'm just I'm always concerned at the lowest, right? That may be for a good reason, but I'm interested to see what other school districts have to say, or, what's the feedback from other clients?
Okay, I do
Good,
know
bad?
that he is working with another school district, so I will reach out to that school district. I don't remember offhand which one it is, but I do know he does have a contract with another one, right?
Sorry, what's the timeline on this? Like, do you need this now? Obviously before the school year,
Definitely
right?
expedite this to get through, because I think when we found out that we needed to go out to bid, we had barely enough time to get the 10-day required posting in. So we
Right.
posted August 6th, had the bid opening on the 20th.
Okay.
I had contacted Chief Brown also in the spring, and we were gonna partner with the Coventry Fire Department, and they were on board. They really wanted to offer the service, but once the chief investigated how he had to do that, they have to be accredited. So they have to go through a whole process of accreditation in
Okay.
order to offer the training for students to be able to take the national exam. So he wasn't ready to do that. We spoke in July, or the end of July, beginning of August. So that wasn't gonna go forward, and we decided to go out to bid. I also spoke with Roger Williams University, because they also offer an EMT training program. Connegansett uses that. We were in the process of, for next year, trying to see what it was that they could come up with for us. That did not move forward, would not have moved forward for this year because it was just too late in the season.
Sure.
But we can always look at that for next year. So I'm also exploring that avenue. Chief Brown may go forward and get accreditation.
Yeah,
to do
I'm
so.
not,
This is just for
just to
this
be
year.
clear, I'm not questioning the people who bid. I don't know them from a hole in the wall. So the only thing I have to judge them on is past client service. So I don't have that, so that makes me a little wary. And it's the lowest responsible bidder. I can't qualify them as a responsible bidder. What's that?
We don't have any references from the other company either.
Right,
So
but they're
we
not the
would
one
have
that's
to-
selected here.
Right.
So if you propose the other one, then I would expect the same thing. I'm just asking, I don't want to hold you up, but I would say that my comfortability factor of not knowing this company, not having an RFP in front of me, and not having a reference check, knowing that we've already tossed one vendor, leaves me making this decision deficient on information. You understand where I'm coming
The
from?
other company also did not complete the bid the way it was written. So they did not sign the bid, and they did not, there was another piece in there that said,
Pen and pencil, and they only provided one copy
right.
instead of the.
So there were two areas where they did not complete the bid, the proposal the way it was outlined, the way they were supposed to submit it.
That's a little tangential to what we're dealing with tonight,
But
right?
I just
So,
want to say that was also another reason where it does state in the bid that they have to complete the bid as outlined.
We can easily follow up and make,
guess-
I mean,
if this
we
is
can
a-
make a call to make sure, and we can,
Right.
I mean, I'm not gonna tell the committee what to do, but you could approve it conditional on making sure that we get a positive reference, because
Right, and that would be my only ask. I don't want to hold you up, but I would ask that you go out and get that reference check and follow up, just so we have a full comfortability factor. And in the future, when you come in on this, if you could do that reference check. And I agree that having that RFP in front of us, looking at it and making sure that, just as a second check, because we have to vote on this, and, I'm staking my word, my reputation on this information. So all of us are. So, moving forward, we want to make sure that we're looking at the same information you are, because we're approving this, and if something goes bad, then it's on us as well.
Right.
So, all right, that's all I have.
I have a
Anyone else?
follow-up. Now that I'm thinking about this, a follow-up question, and again, I don't have the bid in front of me, so it's hard to know, so I'm asking a question from left field. When we bring in a third-party vendor like this to come in and educate our students, are they covered under the trust, or do we require them to have their own liability insurance?
They do have their own insurance, but they also are covered under our insurance as an agent that's doing business for us. So I'm comfortable from an insurance perspective that this is something pretty standard that we do, so I'm not
Okay.
concerned about it.
Just checking, just occurred to me. Thank you.
So.
That's all I have.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, and I just
Anything
want to make sure, so going forward, because I understand your reason for wanting the bid documents, but I just want to make sure, irrespective of this bid, that you want the actual complete bids for all bids submitted, or the proposal, the RFP, or both?
And I understand it's more work,
No,
but
no, it's not.
ideally, whatever you see, so, yeah. the- both
Our
the
mo-
RFP
I'll put it this way,
for me, I'm
our
just-
motion reads, we're accepting a proposal submitted by ETRI.
But we
don't have we don't have the proposal in front of us.
Right.
It makes it
And
a little
typically we
tricky.
haven't, so that's why I just want to
Right.
make sure I understand.
Yeah, I would say yes. The answer is yes. The RFP and the proposals that were submitted, so we can look at everyone who submitted on that docket. It can be done electronically. I know we're moving in the electronic versions. So if you require it on a USB drive and it gets posted to the Google Docs, I'm okay that we can discuss that, but,
Yeah, we don't want to kill any more trees, so if it
right.
can be
I
done
mean, we don't
electronically,
need
we'd
more
be
to our
happy with
packet.
that.
I think electronic's fine with
Doesn't
me. I
have
don't
to
know
be
how the other
packet.
No,
members
I would much
Electronic's
rather
fine, yeah.
have that.
have
I'd much rather
electronic,
have,
or you
Just
want
having
packet?
visibility
No, I
to it
want
in advance
electronic.
is key.
So are we in agreement electronic is?
So did you say you were okay with electronic?
I'm fine with electronic,
too.
yeah,
I'm
I'd
perfect
much
with
rather have that.
Yes,
So-
yes. So
And
we're
I know
all
you
good
can
with
require
electronic.
the RFPs to be on USB drive or whatever, so that'll just make life a little easier.
No USB drives.
Nothing in
Right.
into our system.
Unless you get
Nothing electronic. Okay.
So is the
that's
committee
okay.
at least ready to move with the stipulation? We maybe can change that motion to say, we'd like to have some follow-up, just a follow-up call on references. And if something comes up awful, then we'll redirect it, but.
I just
So are
wanna
you
come
ready
back.
to move, Mr. Florio?
I just want to thank Mrs. Ferguson and Sarah for saving us $355 per student. All right, that's big savings for, especially when you're talking at least 15 kids. So thank you. Okay, I make a motion to accept the proposal submitted by the Emergency Training of Rhode Island in the amount of $633 per student for the EMT training program.
Provided.
Provided.
Provided in the future,
No, right now,
No.
provided provided that the reference are
provided
on
that,
that.
that we get the RFP and the reference. Oh, provided we get the reference,
They gotta do a reference check
Positive reference.
positive reference checks.
from people who use this,
People that use
this service.
the service.
I second the motion.
Any questions from the public gathered? Concerns? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. Moving on to school lunch prices, and seeing that you're standing there, Sarah, I assume you're gonna talk to us about this as well.
Yes, so we brought this forward last August as well. So every year we have to do a USDA price equity tool, which is just a calculation of the previous year's activity on the paid lunches. And it basically tells us whether or not we're charging adequate prices and whether or not they need to be increased. We have to go forward with a plan if it shows that we are not charging or we need to increase. So that's either funding from the general fund or making a motion, which is what we did last year, to increase the prices. Last year, it came back that we should have increased at least 20 cents. USDA will allow us to do 10 cents per year and then reevaluate the following year. We're in the same exact scenario, so we're bringing forward the recommendation to increase the elementary and secondary paid lunch prices. So elementary would increase from $2.60 to $2.70, and then the secondary would be $2.95 to $3.05. So free, reduced, and breakfast prices are all remaining the same. And then typically Mr. Levis sends out a letter, basically with this same language when we send out the meal applications and the meal eligibility forms.
Are there any questions for Sarah? You good?
Nope, I'm good.
Are we ready to move?
Can I just ask one question? How much, and this is just an overall question, how much are we currently owed in school lunch money?
So I'd have to go and run that report. I know we made significant progress last year. We
We ended under-
28,000.
We ended under 10,000, I believe, at the end of the year. So we made a significant increase and, in collection.
Reduction. Okay.
Right.
Just a question, that's all.
And that's a huge issue amongst all schools, I think.
That's a separate discussion. I won't get into it. I just,
It is.
while we're looking at the numbers, I just wanted to ask. Okay.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to increase the school lunch paid meal prices for the 2019-2020 school year due to the failing of the United States Department of Agriculture price lunch equity calculation as follows. Elementary paid lunch increase from $2.60 to $2.70. Secondary paid lunch increase from $2.95 to $3.05, 10 cents in each instance.
I
was the
second the
increase.
motion.
Thank you. Were there any comments or questions from the citizens gathered? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, any opposed? The ayes have it, motion carries 5-0. Moving on to number 9, the superintendent evaluation timeline. It was our reference number 5. Mr. Levitt, did you want to talk at all about your goals or, I know we.
No, I think I can,
Quickly.
yeah, these are goals that ran from last year. I think what I can do, if it's okay with the committee, because the only individual, Mr. Murray wasn't involved in the conversation, so maybe,
I was.
Mr. Murray, you and I can meet, though, we can talk, no, in terms of the goals.
Oh, okay.
We can meet and discuss those, at least I can bring up the speed of, how they were developed and presented, and all I did was I took the timeline, there's a third document in there, I think it's a timeline, and just took what had been shared with me from the last year and just moved it up to this year, kind of align, because the conversation at the last meeting, and I said, you watch it, was just moving it up to November, because the way the contract falls, at the third year of the contract, the committee has to notify the superintendent by December, I don't know if it's 15th or 31st, if they're gonna renew the contract, so this aligns with that, so. And the instrument, the evaluation instrument is the instrument that was used previously that the committee discussed, and obviously they're here, but they felt that was appropriate to move forward, so that's it.
So were there any questions about this timeline, or does it make sense to folks? I think it was the amended one that we did last time, because the first one was different, and we didn't make some of those deadlines, and so this was the amended one that we actually used last.
So I
November.
want to clarify, these
Yep.
dates, are these the dates that it has to be done?
For this
Like,
year.
For this, all
For this
school
year.
committee members
Right.
complete?
Yeah, yeah.
October 31st, that has to be completed by
Yes.
October 31st.
And in fact, I will send out, I'll send out the instrument, as a Word document or whatever, as an attachment, so you guys, and I'll send it out soon.
Okay,
So you can start working on it before then.
good, because I'll be away.
Oh,
I'll be away, the end of October, so.
okay. So there's some leeway there, so hopefully we'll get it to you before then. And if anyone has any questions, are we okay with it? James, are you, good with it?
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Good? Okay, so you'll be getting an email from me with some of those dates in the timeline again, just to reiterate, and then I'll send out the reminders again.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the citizens gathered about evaluations or tools? Seeing none, I guess we can move on.
They seemed thrilled. Just an observation.
Moving on to number 10, which is the ransomware update discussion. And I assume Mr. Levitt.
I'll speak a little bit, and but Mr. Murphy is the expert. So I just had a conversation with Mr. Longley. He was going to be here tonight, but I told him to take the night off. Envision Technologies has been incredible supporting our staff, so I'll let Mr. Murphy instead of me. Why don't you give the update?
Where are we?
All right, so last week we acquired the decryption key for our data. We were able to successfully decrypt our Phoenix data. Envision is in the process of cleaning the data that's been decrypted to make sure that there's no secondary impact from this. And earlier this week, we were also able to decrypt our backup server, and we were able to do a restore. So they're also cleaning all those files. So at the end total of this, we're going to be getting the vast majority of our data back. And hopefully tomorrow, some of the data will start to become available to get back to our users, and I would assume by the middle of next week, most of the data will be back in place. We're also working on, they've established a cloud environment for us to host some servers so that we're better protected against anything like this that happening in the future, where there's a snapshot every 2 hours of the servers that we have up there. So if something were to happen, the most data we would lose is 2 hours. And that's all the vital systems, which would be NutriKids, the Phoenix system, domain directories server that we have, and a file server that's up there. And that's, backed up every 2 hours. Those files are backed up from Providence to Boston. So there's some real layering on protection of the data now. So they've been great to work with. We got the NutriKids system back up and running today. All the cash registers in schools, and the team is moving forward. Just about complete getting the computers in the classroom back up and running across the entire district. Kind of a big undertaking, but.
In fact, I right before the meeting, I got off the phone with Mr. Longley, and he was saying that once people reboot their computers tomorrow, that the whole new system of antivirus for the people that haven't set up, turned their computers on yet, is going to be pushed out to everybody. And so, I think we're in a so much better place. We have a meeting scheduled in a week and a half to look at, this is what we've done. And looking at long-term what we need to do, and we'll come back and obviously present that to the committee. And we still have to sit down. This has been a lengthy process. It's been 7 weeks, 6 weeks now, 6 weeks, and so we still have to go sit down and document everything. We have everything documented, but break it up in the proper language so that we can share this with the insurance company. Including the. I think what we'll just throw on this piece was in terms of how the impact it had in the middle school. And so we had the middle school thoroughly cleaned because of the ventilation system that's controlled by the computer system was shut down. And it's, the air quality and the cleaning every single space in the middle school. And again, they didn't, we haven't replaced ceiling tiles, but the air quality is incredible. And every single space was cleaned by this company, which is covered through the insurance company. So, since I'm going to just tie that in here. So that's all squared away right now, too. I know they're having their step-up program today and tonight. They were having it. So, but I feel like we're very fortunate, and we'll come back to the committee. At some point we need to put dollars amounts, and I think they are putting the Phoenix system. It's going to be operational tonight in the cloud, and so certain people should hopefully tomorrow, have some access to it. All of our HR data that was encrypted, we have access to that. I think the only thing that was left was some 2009 Phoenix data that is still encrypted. And
I think that they were on track to being able to get that back as well.
So that's it. So, I had received one email that said even after the data was, the files were decrypted, they still found I think he was saying thousands of different types of viruses and things that they had to clean.
Yeah,
so
there were still, I think, 2,000 some odd files that were encrypted on the drive.
So they've done an incredible job, and Jim and his staff, I just want to thank them. But this is ongoing, like I said. We'll bring forward a comprehensive, but I was hoping last week we'd be up and running, and so it's just taking a lot of time.
Yeah, they're being very methodical because they really are fearful that there would be a secondary impact. Jay mentioned something like a military analogy where he said just throwing a small bomb, and you hurt a couple people, and then a lot of people come running in, and then you blow up a bigger bomb to hurt all the people that came running in. So they want to be sure that something like that doesn't happen.
All right, well, I'm gonna start with you, James. Any questions? And by the way, just so you know, I made this decision that I'm gonna, on the last meeting of the month, I'll start with you and go this way. And the first meeting of the month, I'll start with Mr. Florio and go that way. That way, you'll all have a chance to be first on the firing line, so to speak, or at least be able
Except
to
for
ask
Luke, he's
questions.
in the middle.
Yeah, Luke, yeah, maybe. I don't know if I can keep track of doing it
Don't worry,
completely
no.
differently,
I'm
randomly.
Joking,
But
joking.
That's what we need,
I
a
did
random
realize
number
that,
generator to do
that you were at the
something.
end and always, probably we already said a bunch of stuff before it even ever got to you, so.
No, it's all right.
So-
The advantage of being on the end and having everyone talk first is sometimes my questions get answered before.
Well, you can always have a follow-up, so.
I don't have a lot of questions. I think you answered most of it. I think it's it's reassuring to hear that our critical data is being restored. That you can prioritize the other data as it happens. This is probably a question for Jason, but you might know the answer. Is the middle school the only school we have that has a computerized building management system?
I think that Washington Oak may as well.
Okay.
And I think some of the boilers, like when we put new boilers in, I think the boilers at the high school are computerized. But I think this was a specific issue when we took the servers down with the ventilation system at the middle school. That's where it impacted versus we haven't had the same impact in the buildings.
That's it for now. I'm looking forward to the detailed report, but thank you for your hard work on this.
I appreciate it. I just wanted to take a moment to thank Mark Salvis and Matt Lennon as well. They've done an immense amount of work in what seems like a short period of time. It seems like it's flying by, but they're doing a great job too.
Thank you.
It's better than it dragging out. You want it to be over quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
this especially.
6 weeks is a long time, but
yeah.
the sooner we're done, the better.
I don't have any questions. It sounds like you've got everything under control and, you're actually anticipating the worst. So you're planning for it.
Unfortunately, you have to in this day and age.
I know. I agree. I'm done.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I think some of the best lessons we learn are through hardship, right? So the one thing I know is very critical early in the past meeting on this, but the reason I was critical is because I felt like the attention it needed wasn't there, and the assertion and effort beforehand wasn't there. I know that since then you've learned a lot. I know everyone gave 110, 120%. I know that it sounds like there's been a lot of lessons learned. I think you probably learned more in 6 weeks on this crash course in IT than you would have learned in probably 3 years
Well,
going through
certainly
it, right?
on-
So,
Malware,
and
that's
everyone's
for
on
sure.
board with it, which is the great thing about crisis, right?
Right.
So, keep doing what you're doing. I'm glad. I'm sure everyone's breathing a sigh of relief, including me, that all that data's get recovered. So, yeah, I can see Sarah with a big sigh of relief on the Phoenix system. So, and I know there's a lot of stuff you're dealing with. Hopefully, we will get a presentation, and I'm sure we will later on in the year when things settle down about where our system is now. How can we support you in the IT realm to make sure that this never happens again? And then that would be my only ask, is that we do have a presentation in the future. I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
But that if we're planning, just like properly planning our facilities, planning our IT infrastructure 5 years out to future-proof some of this stuff and really kind of it sounds like we've done a lot of catch-up in the past 6 weeks. So that would be,
But I think we have to, I just want to say we have to be realistic too, because you brought up the facilities piece. Like we know we need to spend there's hundreds of, I won't use the term millions. Yes, I will. There's millions of dollars of needs that we have in our community just with the buildings we have now, but we don't do it. I mean, I bring up all the time, $1 million, $800,000 worth of ceiling tiles. So it's not like, I don't want to think people, if the negligence is there, it's negligence at a higher level where we don't have the proper funding. You know what I mean? So I think when I made my little spiel the first time was that no matter what, we have to prioritize the funding. And my positive presupposition was, what I stated was, I'm sure when we come to the committee, you're going to support that because we can't get in this situation. We're fortunate we're able to get the data back. If we didn't, we lost all of our HR, we wouldn't have our HR data, all of our financial data. Our vendors are just starting to get paid. We were going to lose everything. And that's all I'm saying is I just want to be clear that we have to start thinking differently and engage the community, as you all say, right? Engage the community to support the things that are really important. Because in the past, we haven't. That's my personal opinion, that, you know, in our next hurdle to overcome is the facilities.
Yeah. No, listen, I agree. I think we're saying the same thing. I'm just saying, we don't know, I don't think in previous process, and again, I'm fairly new here, but I'm not sure in previous process, we've had the honest discussion on IT infrastructure to say, this is what we truly need and we're deficient. Like, if you don't fund us, that's fine.
Right.
But we are gonna have a problem. I don't know if that conversation happened. And that's the hard conversation moving forward. Like, it's gonna be on the committee. If we don't choose to put it in that budget and appropriate fund, I mean, that's on us. But I think that's a discussion we need to have.
Right,
I
I
agree.
agree.
We agree
I
on
agree.
that,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
And that's all I have.
Thanks, Jim. Did a great job. Can you do something about the heat in here? It seems like it's gotten a lot hotter since we came in here. Okay.
I can't do much in here, so,
Okay, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Thank you for everything.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, thank you. I also wanted to just state something that the New York Times, I don't know if you saw the Times yesterday, I believe it was, had a complete in-depth sort of article on this whole issue that's happening across the country. Texas, I think, was the highlighted state where I don't even know how many communities have, I mean, it's supposedly, apparently it's coming like
Gangbusters, yeah.
gangbusters. And so, you know, we're not alone. Not that doesn't make us happy, I'm sure, but it apparently is becoming a huge issue.
Yeah.
And they on purpose, the people who are doing this, whoever they might be, are doing it to municipalities, the smaller, the better, that really basically haven't been able to, resource-wise, kind of, because of funding and whatever, so they're sitting ducks is
Right.
basically. And so I you know, it's sad that we had it happen to us, but I think that the alert's going out now to a lot of municipalities, especially. I think they did some big people in the past, you know, like banks and healthcare systems, and people have paid huge money just to get their patient data back online. It's been kept sort of undercover, but I think now municipalities getting hit now too, as well as school departments.
Jay Wong, when he was here the first night with us, he said that Coventry is not, yes, they're not the exception, they're the rule, so.
And unfortunately, I think what I did read from I'm not an IT person, but from what I gathered, it's going to get worse. And so even the protections that people are building, they'll just be another way to get in there. So that's the really scary part. So, you know, we are so reliant on computers to do all of our business that literally, I know in my office, if we get shut down, you go home. There's nothing to do. We're so computer driven. So, and people know that. So, and again, I'm looking forward to the report ultimately to see where we stand with our protection and how much it's going to cost us in the future to at least protect us as best we can be protected, given the nature of the people who are out there to do malicious damage to us.
Right. Sadly, it's easy money. For a
It's
lot of
very
these
easy
people.
money, and people are paying the ransom. Maybe not the full amounts, but they're doing it because they know that if they had to redo their data, it would cost them millions more than the separate. It's very enlightening.
Yeah, there's been tons of them. I mean, I read that Louisiana last year put some legislation in place that would allow them to leverage EMA funds if they had some kind of
If they had
cyber
to.
attack, and they had a whole batch of school districts get hit where they were able to declare a state of emergency and then leverage those funds for remediation and things like that. So,
I mean, and quite honestly, I mean, one of the biggest threats even to this country, I mean, our
Power
infrastructure, the power grid, water
yeah.
systems, it's just a matter of time when that's going to happen, unfortunately. Not that I want to be a doomsday person, but thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Does anybody from the audience have any questions or comments for Mr. Murphy? Yep.
First, I just want to thank you and you guys have worked so tirelessly, and I appreciate it. So this is not a pressure question at all, it's just a question to know it's going to be asked. Secondary levels, we rely very heavily on technology on platforms. How are you guys doing? How much more time do you
probably by the first day or two of next week, we should be pretty done. Yeah, I think the elementary schools are pretty much all set now. So now we focus on the areas that we have not already done at the secondary schools. So we did have a little bit of a hiccup at the middle school when they were doing the remediation. So we were working and then we had to stay away. Yeah. So. Mhm.
Didn't
Yeah.
want.
So.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to 11, the necessity for school construction process update/discussion.
Yeah, and this will be brief. I know we've discussed this. What I really wanted to say is that we realized that we were fortunate enough to receive a grant from RIDE for $150,000. And we just talked a little bit about our middle school, and we want to do this right. And I'll say that early on there might have been a sense, I know there was a sense for many people, including myself, that maybe we're pushing this and rushing this process. But the only way that we're going to get this done is to get complete buy-in and complete awareness of the community, and work closely with the council and making sure that they're informed and get buy-in and get people to understand the truth of our situation, also understand the benefits of what we have the opportunity to do moving forward. And thirdly, this is going to be a long-term plan. This is not, I know we talk about a 5 or 10-year plan, but we're looking more at probably a 20-year plan to look at all of our facilities and infrastructure. And I agree, it's got to take, effective communication and really a real clear vision, mapping it out. And the other thing that in the conversation we've talked about is making sure that people see how it's going to impact themselves, whether it's their own children. If we just focus, say, on the high school, yes, everybody's going to go to high school, but what about the families that are just moving in with young children? So we have to be strategic around that, and I think we will be coming up with a plan. We've done a lot of work already, and now this part is to get people involved and engaged, and because we have, I say this all the time, but I feel like we have one really good shot at doing this, and everybody's input is going to be crucial. So if there's been any perception that people's input or opinions or concerns are not going to be addressed, I want to just alleviate that we had definitely, we talked a lot about that. We had a meeting with our administrative team a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, and we talked about that. And the flip side is we looked at how positive our future can be, because it makes a world of a difference. We can say, I always say we put our money into our teachers, and that's where, that's our value. But being in a classroom, being in a new school, I'm in a community where they're building a new high school and they have all these virtual tours. And I've been in new high schools in Massachusetts, and I see what's going on in some Rhode Island. It does make a difference. We can't minimize the impact environment, makes when classrooms are going to be cold this winter, or they're too hot, in the spring or the fall. It makes a difference. And I'm not making excuses, but we have an opportunity in front of us to really push this agenda for this entire community, because I think once it's accomplished and once people see that we're making progress towards it, I think it's going to change a lot around the culture. At least that's been my experience in other communities. So I just wanted to put some words on that I feel, we will be meeting. What I will say is that I believe we will be meeting with the council and getting everybody involved and mapping out how we engage the community and get their input and come up with a plan that we can hopefully get consensus on in this community. So I just wanted to put those words on this. So I don't have a big presentation, but I just wanted to kind of at least summarize my thoughts around this. So.
Mr. Pearson, anything for Mr. Leonard?
Oh, sorry, we're working down. Why me first? I got to get used to that. No. Thank you.
All right. Donna,
No.
you good? Luke?
I just wanted to add, because I was involved in the work session, and just so people understand where we're at, I don't know if, because I think sitting out in the crowd, you're, as Superintendent said, we're coordinating to get council on board to assign a building committee, so that will have community members on it, and we discussed a little bit about that. We're going to set out a schedule We're going to stick to that schedule and make sure that we meet the ride requirements so we become eligible for the funding that is out there. And we're going to be eligible. We're eligible right now for 44%. There's kickers of another 20%, plus I think another 4 for efficiencies. So there's quite a bit of money on the table, upwards of 65 to 70%, if I'm sorry, you need to check me on that, that is out there to offset this. The key is that a lot of that money has to be fronted on the town side through either bonds or other means. And so I think we have to lay out, you know, and as the superintendent discussed, a clear communication with the public. And, you know, I know myself, I'm inviting every community member who's out there to come take a tour, work with us, not against us, understand why we're doing this, and you know, figure out the paths forward where we know it's going to cost money. How do we lay out a plan to not bury our heads in the sand like Providence did for many years? And then it becomes a crisis scenario. We're kind of taking the bull by the horns. We're given this opportunity by RIDE. Let's not waste it. So if anybody has any questions on it, you know, I know Sarah's project manager or superintendent, reach out to your school committee member. We'll get you some answers if you want to be involved in the process. Certainly reach out to myself and the other members and you know, be proactive in the process. So that's all.
Okay. Dave? You're good? Okay. Anything from the public? Any questions? Seeing none, we're going to table on number 12 until next time probably. And then we're going to move on to number 13, which is the superintendent's report. So,
Sure. So just want to talk a little bit about school safety. We had a meeting, we had an administrative retreat today, and we have another day tomorrow. But one of what we talked to today, a couple of things, and it pertains to safety, is we talked about just Narcan. A lot of data was given to us about the opioid crisis and the impact in Coventry. And there's a new state law that passed also that requires that we have I forgot what the term is, but it's like a working order or a standing orders with the doctor to have Narcan available in our schools, and we're going to make it accessible. The legislation also protects individuals, so it isn't just a nurse that can administer it, but anybody could administer it, and they would be protected from liability. And it was very timely today because Captain Zabalowski, Peter Zabalowski, and Jill, I'm drawing a blank on her last name, but she's the new assistant EMT director. It was phenomenal. They came and did a demonstration, gave us a lot of information, the PowerPoint, and I can share that with the committee, share that with the public. So we had that training today, but we'll have that available in our schools. In our larger schools, we'll have more than one area where it's available, and we're working on what we'll do for storage. It won't be a locked storage because then it wouldn't be accessible to individuals. So that was important. We also did a training today on human trafficking. And it's something that, you know, unfortunately is a reality of what we have to deal with today. And we've had individuals in our schools before, I know that I'm aware of since I've been here, that unfortunately we're part of like the human trafficking or sex trade. And so we did a lot of work. We're piloting with DCYF and with a program, Day One, who does a lot of training around sexual abuse, domestic violence, and their leaders in terms of this human trafficking. So it's something we'll be working with our staff on, because we can't say, like we talk about this happens everywhere, and it can happen in Coventry, and it has. And so we work, our police, our SROs have been trained in that. So just like anything else, abuse, we'd report it to DCYF and any concerns we'd have, and also report it to the police. So we spent a couple hours today on that. But again, it's all pertained to the things that we do around, you know, just safety in our schools. So that's a little update on that. The transportation update, we had a meeting, Jason and myself met with the bus company to go over our, you know, just making sure the new bus company date, the runs, they're going to do a run. The bus routes are coming out tomorrow in the paper. We'll also put them on our Facebook page. We can put a connection or a link to our homepage also. And they are going to be doing a dry run on Wednesday. So I'll send something out to the community because I don't want parents to think, oh my God, the buses are coming to the stop and they forgot to send their child out. But they're going to be doing the runs. We toured the bus tonight when we opened the meeting at 6 o'clock. We took a little ride, but they're beautiful. I mean, as much as a yellow big school bus can be, propane driven, and The other part is there was concern that I brought up last time about the propane tank, and because they require propane for filling, we need to have a filling station. And we met, Jason and again myself met with the bus company, the owners, and we contacted right after that. Jason and I had a meeting with Mr. Wazika, Mr. Arnett, and or Mr. Wazika, myself, Jason and I. We had a meeting, and he was very supportive. And what they're going to do, because the issue across the street is zoning, so Mr. Wazika is working with the council, and they're going to work on rezoning so we can have the propane tank there. It may take a little time to go through the process, but that was the course of action. And again, I don't want to put words in somebody's mouth, and I've only had a conversation with Mr. Wazika, but it looks like very promising that it'll take place. I mean, there is a propane tank behind the building. I don't know what it's there for or connected to, but there's already a propane, and maybe that's a difference in terms of, you know, the type of propane or how it's utilized. So again, I'm not an expert in that, but I just wanted to give you an update. It may take a little bit of time, but we communicated that to the bus company. That's our best option. All the other options were going to be very, very costly. And, you know, and I don't want to get into a competition. Like I said, you know, we all know that we had a perfectly fine bus depot before, but it's being turned into the new police station and senior center, and good for them. But we were kind of forced into this situation. So you know, I appreciate the support that we have. But Mr. Wozniak was very supportive when we met, and I'll keep you posted on that progress. So that's the transportation. The opening of school, again, I just want to thank, it's been a tough summer. You know, we have opening day on Tuesday the 27th. And our schools, our custodians, again, our buildings are old, but they've done an incredible job, I think, getting them ready. I've had a lot of positive feedback from teachers that have gone in and acknowledge how hard our custodians have worked. We had some other projects that are being done. And so our buildings will be ready. Mr. Murphy just talked about, they had to pull the hard drives out of every single machine we had. You know, had a lot of work had to be done manually, and the fact that we believe we'll be up and running, you know, with our technology in our schools is just an amazing accomplishment. And there's so much work that people did behind the scenes. Again, it is what it is. We had this horrible scenario take place this summer, but so many people have worked hard to get us ready. So we believe we'll be ready. We look forward to the kids coming back. It looks like next week's going to be nice and cool. So our buildings will have a chance, because remember last year, I think we had 90s and very humid days at the beginning of school. It was very tough. So, and then the last thing is in your packet, you have enrollment numbers. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free. But the enrollment numbers, and just so you know, those numbers were taken as of Monday. And this is not opposed to, you know, we get caught up in, like, there's an October enrollment number and then the March enrollment numbers that we use. These are just our numbers that we have in terms of registrations. But I want to let you know that there's 47, I was aware of this yesterday, registrations that aren't entered into our system that have transpired since we collected this information Monday. So we have, I know, just speaking with the middle school, they had 20 registrations that need to be entered. We had 27 at the elementary school. I don't know at the high school how many registrations we have that haven't been entered. So, you know, I'll send an email out to the committee on opening day what our registration is. But I think what's important in that data I shared with you is just knowing that in our elementary schools, we have many classrooms that are closed. And so that leads to displacement. A lot of times we have this waiver process where a lot of times it is evened out. But this year, as you can see, there are classrooms and buildings that are closed. And that's, you know, it's a disruption to transportation, because we end up transporting students to outside their transportation zone, which we have to. When someone applies for a waiver, they're responsible for transportation. But I just want to make the committee aware that there are classrooms and buildings where they're closed. And again, that doesn't include the 47 students that I was made aware of. And then whatever comes in, you know, like we expect, it was constant, on my understanding today, all day, people coming in registering. We expect the same thing tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday. So I think you'll see that our numbers will be, even though there's been a decrease in areas, I think we'll be close to the same numbers we had at the middle school. And I think we'll be, you know, well over the 1,500 student mark at the the middle school and the elementary school, and, you know, unfortunately, we may be facing some more displacements. And I know that's tough. We have a lot of young people, a lot of young families moving in with young children. So, again, another reason why this necessity for school construction is so important, I believe. So, but any questions that Mr. Coward, it's good to see you here from the drive-in last time. So, but any questions people have on enrollment?
Mr. Levis,
Yes,
I like the fact that you're working with Day One, Peg Langham, this organization. They do excellent work with victims. And I'm glad you had that discussion today. It's a good thing.
Did,
Mr. Pearson,
I'm
did
sorry.
you have anything? No?
I'm good.
Donna?
I'm good.
Okay. Mr.
did, I know we had some pending applications out when the whole budget situation happened. Did we recover any of those students?
yeah, we've had I can't tell you in terms of coming in, but we've had students that were going out that have decided not to go out. I don't have the final numbers yet. I think, you know, we'll wait, you know, honestly wait and see when, sometimes we don't know till we get that October 1st enrollment, the bills from certain places that kids have registered there. So, but we'll have a handle, you know, I can report out, you know, probably early next week in terms of what we have for our enrollment. I know we've had, one thing I throw out there is I just know, like, we've talked about the ROTC program, but I believe, and Ms. Ferguson, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we have like 16 students coming in. You know, we were teeter-tottering like 39, 40 students. We have 16, or it maybe even more, closer to 20, coming in as freshmen, which is nice. You know, like, so, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, our facilities are challenging, but we have like that program, and just to single that out, we're adding the drone program to that, where they'll get they'll get credits from URI, I think 6 credits, up to 12 credits. And then something we don't talk about, we have that marksmanship program that'll be up and running. And, you know, the best part about that is the $40 million of college scholarships that are available to Division I schools across the country. And we have a lot of young people that are very interested in that, you know. So, I mean, there's a lot of positive going, but in terms of just, you know, in terms of where we stand, you know, I'll have a better handle on that really when school starts. But we have had students that were going out. I mean, I understand, you know, what was going on in this community. It's fully understandable concerns, but I think,
I'm
you
just
know,
interested.
yeah.
And the whole point is
Yeah.
that just if we can diagnose the ripple effect that process had going into next year, and it helps emphasize the point that we don't want to be in that situation again where we're pushing
Yeah.
parents to have to make that decision. So I think the more we can quantify the impact of that,
Yeah.
would be a good thing.
But, yeah, I agree.
That's all.
Cool. Anything from the public for Mr. Levis? Seeing nothing, we can move on to citizens' comments. Are there any comments from the citizens gathered? Any questions, concerns? I don't see any, so I guess we can schedule the next meeting. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the next meeting of the school committee be scheduled for Thursday,
It should be September 12th.
September 12th, 2019, at 7 p.m. at Coventry Town Hall.
I second
I
the
should've
motion.
told you. I saw that when I read it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to adjournment, and I have 8:11.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that the meeting be adjourned at 8:11 p.m.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone, for attending.